Hello, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again, folks. Today we're going to talk about part one of my mentoring and training course. And again, just remember that these are real time. There's not going to be any editing. I'm just going to act as if I'm talking to you in person. And I'm kind of excited about this because I think it'll be a fun little experiment to do. Talking to a camera instead of to you, but you can do this. Keep in mind with me one-on-one. I'll even do small groups, so if you're interested, that is where some more value is for sure, because we can interact back and forth. Of course, when it's just me talking one way, I'll give you a lot of good information, but it's not quite the same as being in person. So I think this is still very valuable and a lot of good information for you I'll give. But today we're going to talk about part one. The first two were kind of introductory videos that I gave you. This is going to be the actual getting into the meat and potatoes of it. And before we even talk about the actual investing in real estate, we've got to get our minds right. And that is what this section is on, is getting our minds right. Because if your mind isn't right and you go into this, you're not going to do very well. You're going to be filled with anxiety and paranoia, especially when you start making some real money. It's not as easy to handle that as everybody thinks it is. They think it'll solve all the problems, when in reality, all that more money does is make you more of who you already are. So if you are a nervous person to begin with and you make more money, you're going to become more nervous. If you are a jerk to begin with and you make more money, you're just going to become a bigger jerk. Hopefully you're a nice, generous person to begin with, and you're going to become a bigger, nicer person. I feel in my case, it has helped me grow as a person. I feel that I'd like to think that I'm actually on the better end of that spectrum, where I've become a nicer, more generous person. So I think I am. So at any rate, getting your mind right. So mindset changes and self-development. Again, I have my notes here, just like we're talking together. So the power of focusing on the positive, that is a big one. You know, a lot of people struggle with this, and I have at times. I mean, I'm just like you. I'm no different. I have my own struggles, but the key is to get past those. So you always have to focus on the positive. When you wake up in the morning, you got to think about what you're grateful for in your life. If you're grateful, you cannot be at the same time upset or anxious. You only can really have one emotion going on at one time. Can you imagine if you woke up every morning and knew you couldn't fail? Can you imagine that? What would you do differently? I sometimes think about that. You know, what would you do differently if you absolutely knew you couldn't fail? When I began, I heard people talk about that, and it didn't really make much sense to me. I said, well, how the heck, you know, that's, you could fail, you know, there can be challenges, how that's impossible. But as you progress, as you continue moving forward and you get some wins, I think you can actually adopt that belief system that you can't fail. And when you adopt that belief system, you begin to do things a little bit differently. You take calculated risks. You don't limit yourself. And it's a huge thing that you have to do to it's a huge turning point, I should say, having this mindset change. I look back when I first started, and honestly, I can credit the vast majority of my mindset change to one of my early on mentors. He's now a very, very close friend of mine. He's an incredible real estate investor, Jim Winchell. He's actually a little bit younger than me. He's an incredible individual, but I met him about 9 years ago, and I credit very much of my success to him. He showed me that different way of thinking, to release your mind, to let it go, to surrender to previous beliefs, and to move forward. So you want to focus on the positive always, in every situation. Those other people, they look at every potential opportunity, they look at the risks. They say, well, that's not going to work because of this, or you can't do that, or, well, I just use that as motivation to keep moving forward, to do that, to show them that it's right. I look at the positives on things instead of the risks. Yeah, you can't be stupid. You can't blindly go into things without, you know, some calculation of them, but you have to look at the positives. It's been said that the greater your ability to handle stress, the farther you'll go in life. Or I should say, your success in life is directly proportional to your ability to handle stress. So keep that in mind. You know, when you're going for more, if you want to be a multimillionaire, you're going to go through a lot of stress. But you have to treat it as a game. It's a big game of Monopoly. You have to treat it, when you treat it as a game, the stress has less of an effect on you. Embrace stress. Know that it's going to come. Know that you're going to go through it. Know that the rocky road to success, it's not just a straight linear line up like so many people think. People think that it just goes straight up. No, it's up and then it's down and then it's up and then it's up a little higher, then down and then it's up. But the overall trend, you know, is up. And that's what we want to keep moving. You got to keep that momentum up so that the overall trend is up. What you focus on expands, and this can be true of, this is true of everything. This is true of the good and the bad. Keep that in mind. Have you ever noticed that if you have if you have a, you know, little injury or something, you tend to focus on that. That's all you tend to focus on that thing, and it manifests itself more when you focus on that. Whereas, you know, if you get so involved, what do you love to do? I love I love to drive fast cars on the racetrack, or you know, ride a dirt bike on a track. Those things, when you're doing those things, you are in what we call satori. You're in the moment. You're not thinking about anything else. And that injury, that, you know, the example that we use, that you don't even consider that because you're not focusing on it. You're focusing on being in the moment. So I want you to focus on success. If it's money that you're after, then focus on money. Focus on, what is it? What does money bring you? It's not the money that we want, it's what it brings us. What does it bring us? It brings us freedom to do what we want to do, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. It brings us freedom. So you want to focus on that. You want to learn to self-program. Literally talk to yourself. Tell yourself, you know, I've written things like, you know, by this date, I'll have this amount of money in my, you know, safe at home. I'll have this much gold. I'll have this much silver. I'll, have this much in my checking account. You know, write yourself specific goals like that. And it becomes programming. It becomes positive self-programming. You know, if there's a particular fear you have, if you fear, groups or speaking in front of other people or whatever, everybody has a different things. If you face those fears, the more you face those, the only way to completely overcome fear is to face them. But you can also, leading up to that, you know, you can literally, I have a journal, a leather-bound journal. In fact, it's right here. Leather-bound journal. I take it almost everywhere. I write it in all the time. I suggest you get one also. Write your thoughts, write goals, write plans. But part of what I write in there is things, when this condition is here, maybe it's a condition that makes me uncomfortable. When this, I'll say, like, you know, from here forward, when this condition is present, I will use it to feel extra confident, extra powerful, extra present, extra charismatic, and use it to benefit, the other person and myself. So, and if you read that over and over, we do declarations. In fact, I'll give you a declaration sheet that we can go over, and I borrowed it from my awesome mentor, T. Harv Eker, that is. And if you're listening, T. Harv Eker, please don't be upset with me for using your millionaire mind declarations, because they are yours, but they're excellent. And I'll show you that sheet. I'll read them off to you. I'll hold them up for the camera. You can take a snapshot or whatever. Write them down yourself. But that'll be at the end of this set here. So positive self-talk. You always want to do plans. I mentioned that in my journal. I write out my plans and goals. And they need to be very specific. The more specific they are, the more likely they are to come to fruition. So very specific. You need to have an exact dollar figure. If you don't have specific plans, if you don't know what you're working towards, how can you know when you've arrived? How do you know if you've won when you don't have specific end goals? And I want to make a distinction between goals and plans. Goals are nice. Someday I'd like to, live in an awesome house in California. That's a great goal. Okay. How are you going to get there? You need to have a plan to get there. So it might be more appropriate to say, so you can have a goal. That's great that you can have that, but you also need a plan. So, so you might say, I am going to also, not I would like, because I would like is very wishy-washy. I am going to, it's definite. It's a definite purpose. Okay, so you need a definite purpose that you want to work toward. You need to have passion for that. I'm going to have a 6,000 square foot beach house with 3 fireplaces, a moving glass wall that faces the ocean, a master suite with a king-size bed and a glass shower in the bathroom, with a wall that opens up to the beach by this date. And in order to do that, I'm going to sacrifice. You always have to pay for it. So you're gonna sacrifice. Maybe you have a full-time job right now, but you've decided that in order to have that, you're going to sacrifice a minimum of 2 hours, 6 days a week towards real estate related activities. That is going to be the price that you pay for that. And then you chunk it down. If you set a price that that might be, that house is going to be, then okay, if I'm going to pay this, I'm going to break it down into, I have to save this much money by this date, and maybe invest that at this percentage so I can get this return on it and continue to save that. It's just all we'll get into more of that. I don't want to get too far into like how to chunk that stuff down right now, but you have to get very specific, and that's a very important point. It doesn't seem very important. I've heard it say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I was always like, I'm not a planner. I just always do the best at whatever I happen to be doing. I always do the best job I can. But that's not. You have to plan, because if you don't plan, there's no path to get there. Just like you wouldn't go try to build a house without plans. You have to have plans so that contractors know what to go by. You have to have plans so you know what to go by when you are, on your way to your goal. You have to know. So that's a very important distinction between plans and goals. The other thing I like to do is I post those plans and I post those goals on my mirror in my dressing room, and every morning I put them where I can see them. I have things posted everywhere. I read them. I get up first thing in the morning. I read them to myself. Dedicate to reading them to yourself. They'll literally come to fruition if you do this. I read it, at night and in the morning, and it changes a little bit, depending on what I'm focusing on at that time. I might, it changes what I have posted up, what I read. I even have something in my wallet that I carry around. I carry silver, in fact, I was carrying a real gold ounce coin in my pocket for a while, but I decided that I'd rather not lose that. So I started to carry an ounce of silver in my pocket, which I haven't ever lost. I probably would never lose the gold either. But so I do that because I feel that if I'm carrying physical precious metal silver, I feel that it attracts. I feel that it attracts other money, and it does. That's what it does. You've got to think big. Think big. Think bigger than you. Think ridiculously big. Think big. Think big and make low offers. We'll get into that more, but think ridiculously big and make ridiculously low offers. Always do that. You just never know what you're going to get. But think big. If you aim for the stars, or if you say if you aim for the stars and you reach the sun, that's better than aiming for the moon and getting a little bit past it because you hit the sun all the way up here. So think big. I'm at a stage now that when I started, I guess it was just over 8 years ago, I never dreamed I would be in the position that I am now. And the darndest thing is that I thought I was thinking big then, thinking about where I am now. Well, I didn't even dream I'd be where I am now, but maybe where I was 2 or 3 years ago is where I was when I first started. I was thinking to that level, and now I'm here. So honestly, I'm at a stage I've got to up my game to think real big, like bigger than I ever imagined, because that is how I'm going to grow. So you have to think big. You have to do. We'll talk about a dream sheet. I'm going to put you through an exercise at the end of every lesson. I see I'm getting it to like 17 minutes long here. I wanted to keep these around 10 to 15 minutes because I want to keep your interest, but this is a good one. So we're going to break down each section into, this will probably end up being 3 or 4 sections, but well worth it. You have to make a commitment to continue learning constantly also. As soon as you think that you know everything there is to know about real estate, is as soon as you're done. You'll get to a certain point and you'll be done. You're dead in the water, because if you're not learning, somebody else is. So you've got to continue to learn. Maybe you'll settle into a nice little niche and be happy with that, and that's great. That's great. Some people are fine with just their few properties, or whatever they want to do. But I don't think that's why you're listening to these. I think that you want to go massive, and I'm here to help you do that. So okay, I think I'm going to stop here for now. I don't want to get too long here. We're at about 18 minutes. So I will pick this up for the next episode. I'm shooting for putting these out about once a week. So this is going to be rolled out over a period of it'll take 6-8 months probably or so. But I could be maybe even a little bit longer. But you're going to learn a lot if you stick with me. You really will. And I'm always here available for questions. Email is best. My personal email address is ben@berlinenterprises.net. You can email me right at that personal email address. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to, my end goal is to have, propel you to the next level, because everybody can be propelled to the next level. No matter where you are, you can always be propelled to the next level. Donald Trump, Mark Cuban, Sergey Brin, they all can be propelled to the next level. And they probably all have life coaches to help them propel them to the next level. So, I hope that I can be that to you. So, at any rate, guys, thanks again for everything, and I will talk to you soon. It's Friday at 4:05 right now, and I'm going to do a little bit more work and hopefully have, definitely I'm going to have an incredible weekend, and I hope you do the same. So, thanks a lot, guys, and we will talk to you soon.